show you about changing the tool changer in out position switches. So this is the one that I've just removed from the machine. This is an old Telemechanique switch, and you can see that it's damaged and someone's put a cable tie around it because the roller is about to fall out. Now that's obviously not going to last too long. It must have got them out of trouble, but yeah, the brass collar there is broken, and obviously that roller's not very sturdy. So this was the tool change in switch that gets mounted on these two holes up here, and this hole there is for just a little cable clamp. Now on the back of this switch, it actually had two nuts being used as spacers. Now I can't remember on my other machine if there's actually proper spacers for that, or if it's the same sort of thing. I've just used the two nuts because the actual tool change plate that you can see down there is relatively wide in comparison to the roller, so you've got quite a bit of leeway. To change these, this one you can get to when the machine's turned off because there's nothing in the way of it. So you can get in there with your Allen key, undo the cable clip, undo the switch, and then you've got the same, same four-way mini fit junior connector on the back. Now you do have to remove that back panel, which is this one here. Again, it's just held on by, I think it's 6 button head screws, and then you can get in here and undo your switches. Nice and simple. So the one we're changing at the minute is the tool changer in, and I've already disconnected the other one, which is the tool change out switch. So they're really easy to get to. Oh, you don't have to remove the plugs, and you can have the plugs fitted first. Entirely up to you if it makes it easier, because they can be fed through that hole there at the back, and although it is a tight squeeze, they do go through. Now this is the tool change out sensor, and what we're going to do to get to that one, I'll show you in a minute. I'll change this one first, because like I said, this can be done with the machine off. Let me just check nothing else is in the way on the other machine. Excuse the mess. No, right, so there you go. This one, easy to do, easy to get to. Take the panel off and just take the sensor off. So what I'll do is I'm going to replace that one now, and with these ones you can get away with a 1 metre cable. That's more than enough. The one that's on there is a little bit longer, but a 1 metre cable version is fine, and you can buy the mini thick junior connectors from the likes of RS Components and places like that, and you can crimp them yourself. There is a specific crimp tool for them, but it's about 200 quid, and I just do it with a generic crimp tool, and I've never had any problems. So it is easy to do yourself if you want to do it, or you can buy the switches direct from Haas with the plug already on them. But rather than get one of their guys out to change them or pay someone else to change them, it's really straightforward to do yourself, and it's a good bit of maintenance if they're starting to wear out. I will jump back now actually and say I changed the X-axis switch that I mentioned before, and I said in the video you've got to get a 2 metre cable switch. Well, I was wrong. You have to get a 3 metre cable switch, because you'll see at the minute I've run it in and it's working, but the cable is not long enough to go round here with the rest of them. So a little bit annoying that that's too short, so I'll have to get another one. But same sort of switch, but the part number 101, 1 metre cable, 102, 2 metre cable, 103 is a 3 metre cable. Again, it's a little bit dearer for a bit more cable, but you don't want to put a joint in there, because along here, and mainly where it runs out of the back, is where you get all your swarf and your coolant build up, and if you put a joint in there, you're probably going to get problems down the line. You can get real good joints. Sort of you could cut them, you could solder them, you should individually heat shrink the two joins, you should step them so they're not next to each other, they're further apart, and then you could adhesive heat shrink over the top of that. You know, you can do it properly and get away with it, but obviously if I'd have known for another, I think it's 30 quid, I'd buy the extra metre of the switch. So yes, 3 metre switch on all your limit switches 1 metre is fine for the tool changer, and 1 metre is fine for your sensors up here for your tool release piston setup. So yeah, let's get this switch fitted, and then I'll show you going through the steps to do the one that's hidden behind the tool changer casting. See you in a sec. Okay, so we've changed the tool changer in switch, and now we're going to change the tool changer out switch. Now I'm just going to jump back quickly. If you remember a minute ago when I took this off, there was 2 oversized nuts on the back as a spacer to align the switch. Well, I don't remember that on that machine, so I thought I'd double check it, and I will show you. Now I'm going to stop the tool change midway through, and it's going to be relatively noisy because of the air pressure, but them spacer nuts were not required. Okay, apologies for the air noise, but let me climb up. And you can see there, you've just got the spacer block and a switch. I removed them 2 nuts because with them fitted, it was right over on the edge. Now, why somebody put them in there, I don't know. But that's potentially cause for this switch to be damaged, because it's been bent over to one side, and that switch was barely touching the arm. So that could have been the damage. Anyway, there should be no spacers in there. That switch is a direct fit. Plug it back through, plug it in, that's brilliant. So now I'll show you how we're going to do the one on the back side. So yes, I've got the carousel plate removed here, but that only comes up to here. This cover would be on, but that's kind of irrelevant for this. It's not going to make any difference to you. The fact that mine is stripped down here and yours won't be. So all we're going to do is command a tool change, and the easiest way is to put 5% rapid, and then just do a tool change, MDI forward, and then at any point, feed hold, and just power down, and then we can just power down the whole machine, to be fair. Or you could have left it in E-stop, but it doesn't matter, because you can do it when there's no tool in the spindle and no tool in the opposite pocket. That way, when you do the tool change recovery, you haven't got to worry about any issue with tools, you know, potential worry of them falling in and out. You can just do tool change and restore. It asks you the questions to go through. Is there a tool in the spindle, etc. So anyway, with that tool changer forward, you can now come in here and get decent access to this switch. Now this one is not so bad. It's a little bit, it's a bit slow to recover, to come back out. So we're going to change it anyway. Now on this side, we've got 3 clips. Now there normally is actually, you can see down there's one right at that edge and one right at this edge. Now they're not in there, and probably because if that's in there, it's a little bit more difficult. You can get to it, but it's a bit more difficult because obviously the casting's in the way. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove these 3. Now, holding it on my phone here is going to be a little bit awkward. But you can get to them all. This is probably the worst one because it's just under that that clutch arm there, but you can still get to it, you know, it's still doable. We'll do the other 2 here. Oh, I do apologise, it's a bit awkward one-handed, but on the other hand, it's good to show people how to do it rather than just showing them there's one fitted and flash to there's one replaced, which I tend to do a lot because it's a lot easier, but obviously people like to see sometimes the trials and tribulations of fully changing a switch. Right, so this one's got a bit of an alley plate there, and what I'll do is I should have checked the alignment first on this side, because again, I don't remember an alley plate being on there. that's that undone. We can take the screws out. Pull the block off the back. There's no orientation on the block. And then obviously there's the switch. Now remove your cable clamps. Well, that one is not quite out yet. We're just going again with this, just to get that last little bit. There you go, so it is right tight under there, that one, with the bolt, but as you see, putting that back in, I'll probably wait till, a bit grubby, I'll probably wait till the camera's off to get that one so I can line it with two hands. So there's your old switch unplugged. Now you've got to trace the cable through there, and then it goes through that gap, and you want to find the one that says tool changer out. So there's the in on the one we just done, see, nice new cable, and then that one floating around there is the tool changer out sensor. So just disconnect that, and then pull this cable through. Oh, see, that one wasn't even in there, that was around the other side of there. And again, it just shows another thing that this one's been apart and people had a go at doing stuff and fixing things and just quit halfway through by the look of most of it. So yeah, feed the switch cable through, and then when you get to the plug, it's a little bit tighter, but it does go through. So there's this switch removed. You can see it's very grubby, it's been in there a long time. It just shows you how rock solid the cable's gone. That. And yeah, very simple swap out for low cost, considering the problems you can get from them. So once again, new switch, I've already terminated myself. 1 meter of cable, or should I say 1 meter of cable on this one. And then the same as before. Get the connector, just feed it into that gap, like so. Once it's on the other side, you need to feed it through this gap as well. It gets a little bit more tight because obviously you're doing a couple of different angles, but it does go through. Sometimes you're better off to pull a bit of cable through here first and then get your hand in there, but you shouldn't struggle too much, because if I can just about manage it one-handed whilst filming, you shouldn't have no issues. There you go, there's the cable. So feed the rest of it through, leave yourself a little bit of slack to start with. Now I'm also, while I'm here, going to check this plate, because they may have oh, just dropped one of their bolts. They may have fitted this again because this is a worn out switch, because it shouldn't have that plate. Now the threads still look good, and you can see the mark from the original single block, so I'm thinking that that plate, once again, is not required. And the way you can check that is just to get the switch and get your block. Sorry about this, one-handed skills. So just sit your switch along your block and then have a look where you're at. Now you can see there that is fine. Now if I had that on that plate as well, again I'm going to be out here, so I don't know why they was out there. I adjusted this because it was all loose and knocked it back into place, and I reckon because this was loose it had walked off over here. That's why they put spacers on it, but spacers are not required. So yes, no spacer, just your block straight back on. So let's put some bolts back in. It's like a challenge, this is. One-handed. Hang them there, and I'm just using a dab, one drop of Loctite on each thread, literally just a drop. And then we'll come up here with the block, hold it in place. I'm just going to annoyingly hold the camera there just out of your view for a sec while I get one of these bolts started. And then there, take it back, just get that started there. You can see it's just slightly kinked at the minute, so what I'll do is I'll wait till I just nip it up. Just straighten it. And there we go, switches in, much better. That will be nicely aligned. Now what I'll do is I'll put these clips on afterwards. I'll tell you what I'll do first, just while you're there. Get our cable. There's the one from earlier. So this had all been pulled out of the track. Luckily enough, the cover for this one is there, so I can plug it back in all nice and neat. Right, unfortunately I've just pulled a wire out of there on my crimp, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to de-pin that, re-crimp that, and I'll bring you back. It never goes to plan, eh? Okay, so I've re-pinned that. Got hundreds of them connectors, so that's not the problem. The hardest bit is getting the old connector out because I don't have the proper removal tool. I've got generic ones, but not the proper one for the job, and that made it quite difficult. So I'm just going to leave these cables a bit of a mess at the minute, make sure everything's working good, then I will put it back in there and have the cover back on. So the switch is all installed, as we said, no spacer plate, don't know why that was there. Now because I'm missing these two clips here, and obviously you can see that's quite close in here, I might buy some more, but for the minute what I've done is I've pulled the cables tight. I'll just move that another way, and I've put a cable tie there, and I've done the same on the other side inside this casting, and that's to stop that cable coming back and getting jammed up in here. So we're all back on and done. Like I said, I didn't actually need to turn the power off to the machine. I should have just left it in e-stop, because that would have been better. And then you can just do the tool change recovery, which I'll have to do now because it's not in there. Now, give me the tool changer full, because obviously it's not in and it needs to know. So is there a tool in the spindle? No. Tool changer is back. Is the pocket empty? Yes. Recovery. Yes. Right, so we're done. Now we'll check that our switches are activated. We'll go in here and we've got tool changer in. It's not activated because it isn't, it's in the back position. Tool changer out. And now let's see if we can see the alignment of this switch. I don't think I'm going to get up there to do it, but when you look at that, the plate is in line. There you go, you can see the roller there, but that is much better and it's in line. So two new switches fitted. Let's just do a tool change. Oh, we've got to do power up restart because we're not at 0. Like I say, don't turn the power off to the machine, just restop it. Perfect. That's all we need to do. Let's just do an MDI T10 forward. There we go, so I'll tidy up the cables, put them back in the cable track. I can put that panel back on now, forget about it. This panel I can put back on because these two switches are actually good. The switches are good, very short cables, but they're all good, so there's no need to change that. So yeah, it's just another thing done. Quick, easy, you can do it yourself. The switches you can either find online, make sure they are roller plunger and have 1 meter cables, and the connectors you can buy which are Mini Fit Junior 4-way. So your Mini Fit Junior 4-way, and the terminals are female. So the male side is on the machine side of the cable, so you want the female terminals and Mini Fit Junior connectors. Let me just see. So the connector is a male connector with female terminals. If you need, just post up and I can give you the actual part numbers. So yeah, another job done, another thing off the list. Cheers for watching.